welcome to this next edition of Yes TV. We are filming live from the Wairarapa in Carterton at 3 Mile today with a couple of experts on how to go to market. We are joined today by Esther and Wendy from Wellington Creative.
Hey.
They're part of the team that put together the Wellington Underground Market, which has become one of Wellington's iconic weekly market events that happen year in, year out. How long have you been going now?
Coming up to our 9th birthday this year.
You're almost 10 years. So
10 years, yes. We're already starting to think of what we're going to do for 10 years celebration next year.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, congratulations, guys.
Thanks.
Really cool market. As I said, it's one of Wellington's iconic markets. One of the things that you'll be doing over the next few weeks is putting together your business and getting ready to go to market, because this is the time now where you have to get sales on the board. So we're going to have a bit of a discussion today with the both of you on how best to prepare for that and the things that you need to think about before you even get there, and then on the day, and then how maybe you follow up as well. Yeah. All right, so let's start by talking about preparation and the things that you need to do before you get to market on the day, because it's not just a matter of just turning up, throwing a table on at the market and hoping that you're going to sell, right?
Totally.
So let's go through some of the preparation work, the key things that are really important that a team should do before they even get there.
Well, I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is it's one thing to have a great product, but if your stall, the whole stall, the look, the feel, does not say to people walking by, come and look at me, doesn't matter how good your product is, you're not going to get the sales.
Yeah.
And so there's such a bigger picture at play here, and these are the things that need to be thought about before you get to the market. So you've got your product, awesome tick, but then there's all this other stuff, which is how to make your store look awesome and how to showcase your product to the best advantage, so people will come look at your store, then look at the products, and obviously sales.
So let's talk about some of the specifics of what those things are, like the use of height, the use of lighting, dressing your stall as well. Let's talk about some of that stuff.
So a good thing to have is a theme of your layout, so that it doesn't feel like you've just randomly chucked in, you bring a shelf and I bring a light.
Yeah.
It's good to have an idea of, and that theme doesn't need to be related to your product necessarily. If it can be, it's even better. But there are so many ways that you can dress your table quite cheap. You know, in autumn you can put leaves, in summer you can put sand or stones, or you know, a lot of people use it, and it's there, and it doesn't need to cost a lot of money. But give the shopper the idea that you've actually put a bit of thought into what you're doing here.
And it makes it interesting, right?
Yeah.
Instead of telling the story, and with that, you know, one of the biggest things we say, you've got to have height, because people are looking at eye level, or when it's flat on the table, you just sort of brush past and nothing stands out. So you've got to use height, and it can be used through using shelving. Shelving you might have in your house or hanging around. Even, dare I say, just cardboard boxes with a really nice cloth over the top can be a great, easy, totally affordable way to get height. Otherwise, go op shopping, and there's amazing things you can get. To just give yourself a sense of height.
Yeah.
If it's not in the shopper's face, it's not going to interest them.
That's good.
People are generally lazy.
Yeah.
So if it's not there, down there, they won't see it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'll add to that, if it's not individually priced, people won't ask. If there's a price list, it's like you're asking the shopper to look at an item, go find it on the list. It's too much effort. They won't do it.
Yeah.
Each item needs to have a price. So it's really clearly straight away, I see the item, I see the price. And with that goes the story of what you might be selling, if there's a story behind it, if it's recycled, if it's got a social element to it, if it's got a sustainability element to it, whatever your story might be around your product, it has to be so clear so the shopper doesn't have to ask and they get the story.
Yeah, sure.
And it becomes personal, sort of once you've connected with the shopper on the basis of, why am I selling this, or how did I come up with the idea? As soon as a buyer has the feeling that, oh, I like that, or I'm into that, you've connected, and then you just have to make the sale, you know?
Cool.
Yeah.
It's that connection, definitely. It's getting that connection and what you're about. And with that is lighting. So there's two types of lighting. The first type is to attract the customer to your stall, and it is basically going, I'm here, and really nothing does better than fairy lights, and it's bright, it twinkles a bit, and it's like, oh, what's going on over there? And then the second type of lighting is product lighting and highlighting your products, and depending what it is, how much. If you're jewelry or something really tiny and detailed, you're going to need better lighting than if you've got something which is quite big.
Yeah.
And so it's thinking about the ways that you can do lighting, to highlight the product, and it fits in with your theme, and it might use your whatever you have for height, the shelving, that might help to have lighting off. But there's also lots of ways you can do it that's affordable. You don't have to go out and spend lots of money on lighting.
Yeah. That's really good. That's good, because it doesn't matter whether it's at Wellington Underground Market or not, right? Lighting is still key in any type of market.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. And even with people who have outdoors and marquees, it can still be darker under the marquee, or it's an covered day, and if you've got power, then you need lighting.
Esther?
Yeah, I was just going to chuck in that, very effective are those wee little clip-on lights that you can buy cheaply from the warehouse, and you can clip them wherever.
Yep.
They're awesome. They're $6 and you're away. You have a couple of those, and on the day you can just sort of bend them wherever you need them. So I find they work really good.
Good. And the other thing is testing all this stuff before you get there, right? It's great to sort of collect lights and have height and all this cool stuff, but you shouldn't probably just turn up and hope, like, how do we do this on the day? You should probably set it up a couple of times and know how you're going to do it, right?
Set up in your lounge room and then take a photo, because when you take a photo, you're looking at it at sort of a different perspective, and it really helps you. That photo, you see it differently than probably, because you see everything. The photo can be a really good way to see what's working and what isn't.
Yeah, that's actually a really good tip. So take photos. And make sure you practice and check before you turn up on the day.
And also maybe a good idea is to show your photos to someone that's not involved with your group and your product, to just say, hey, what do you think of this? Because an outsider just looks at things a bit differently. So that might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Show your parents or your mates.
Yeah, critiquing's is always a good thing. Yeah, great.
And a tablecloth. Do not forget a tablecloth.
Don't forget your tablecloths.
Yeah. And it's not just covering a little bit, it's got to go to the ground. And the reason why we say to the ground is it just automatically looks way more uniformed and professional. And you've also, tidier, and those things are really subconscious, but add to the quality of your product. If your display's looking a bit tardy, they think your product will be tardy. And
it gives you the additional things. You can put stuff under your
exactly,
table.
you can use it for your storage.
Yeah.
Because even what's behind you, what's behind your stall, if you've got clutter over there, it just adds
It's
to
not
the clutter.
professional. It's just not professional.
Yeah. So it's about looking as great as you can on the day. Practice it, make sure you've got a theme, make sure you've got height, lighting, you've got your pricing sorted, and you practice before you get there.
And I will add to that the name. Make sure, don't forget your business name. It's a simple thing, but what I would suggest is a lot of people, first off, they try to put it in front of their table down low, like pin it, like get a banner and pin it to their table. But once you have one or two people standing, no one can read your banner. So
put it behind you,
on your display. There's lots of different ways you can do it, but have that, your name, what it is you do. Try and keep that simple but up high.
Yeah.
Screens work really good if you have access to a screen. Those 3 folding screens.
Those trifold screens. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Bring one along, and you can just, with a simple string or a clip-on, have your sign. And it could just be for the day, even if it was just printed on an A1 paper. It doesn't need to. You don't need to go out and spend hundreds of dollars on a banner.
And it's a great place. And the screen's a great place to hang your fairy lights off too.
Yeah, it totally is. And if you do a shout out, you'll have a family or friend or someone shout out on Facebook. Someone will have a screen that you can borrow for the day.
Yeah. I'm sure schools have them as well, so maybe check with your school, because that might be a good way of finding a screen as well.
Yep.
So let's get to the next topic that we're going to talk about, and that is customer interaction, how you engage with people at a market, and how that leads to great sales. All right, so let's talk about some of those things, and what are your tips there, guys?
I think a market's different from other environments, that the shoppers are actually, they love to know about the story. They love to actually connect with it. If you can actually say, hey, I designed this, they're like, oh, wow. And there actually is a desire to have that interaction and get to know a bit more, which is probably different from other sales experience or retail. It's a bit different that there is that, personal reaction, and you are more likely to be speaking to the person that's made it. And so own it. Yeah, I designed this. This is our design, or this is our team. We designed it, and people love that. Yeah,
so product knowledge is obviously key, and you probably do have a great product knowledge because you've been involved in the production, but tell everyone about it.
But telling it and telling, you can't, say the features, say the benefits. Don't just ever assume that they'll understand it or figure it out. And once again, that signage can also help with that. If there's key points, there could be a signage with you're saying those key points about your product, your product knowledge, what that is, what the benefit for the customer, and that's really it is. You're talking about what benefit does this have, for the customer, and what story can you add in if there is that, we said again, if there is that sustainability or ethical or something to it, that make sure you share that story.
Yeah. So how do you get people to engage with you? It can be daunting if you've never done it before, but sometimes it's just as simple as kind of smiling, putting your hand out for a handshake, or just maybe offering samples or something like that.
Yeah, greeting a customer, and that can just be that I've seen you. You don't need to necessarily be in someone's face. Let them know you're there for them when they have a question. Let them just sort of arrive for a second, and don't give people the feeling that there's 4 of you going for that one sale.
So only 2 on the stall from maximum
2 on the
2.
stall, and then just say hi. That's sometimes enough.
What's the important thing about the 2 on the stall thing? Like, because
you
quite often you have more
outnumber.
people,
If you have more staff than customers, it's just scary.
It's intimidating.
It feels intimidating, and they mightn't
Yeah.
even come too close. They might stay back a bit. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Well, that's actually really quite important.
Or they go quickly when they realise, all of you are talking to me.
And also very important, and I know it's really difficult because you do end up having private conversations, and you're loud, and you might be in your cell phones or in your other devices. Try not to do that.
Yeah.
It shows that you're not even interested in your own product, because otherwise you'd be sharp and spot on looking for that interaction with your customer.
And your next sale.
It's not friendly, it's not a good look. Stand up, be alert, pay attention, and it's not easy when you don't have retail experience, but if you sort of look at someone's body language, you can pretty much tell what's that person's need. Does that person want to look, or does that person actually want to buy something and they need help?
Yeah.
So it's not easy, but be alert and be aware, and that's why 2 people is just enough.
Yeah.
It's enough.
And having a stool is okay if you do want to sit, because it can be a long day or a long time, and having a stool is good because you can sort of perch on the end. But if you're sort of sitting down, and you're much lower, and it sort of shows like you're not really interested.
Yeah.
So the stool or standing up is the way to go. And you can be chatting with your friend, but when a customer comes,
You need to
just dial it down and just focus on them. But also it's that balance of being focused and attentive, ready to have a conversation, but also giving them space. And it's that dance, and it's, you just got to do it. The only way to get it and get it right is just to be doing it and turning up and having those experiences to get that conversation going right.
And it's amazing how effective a simple smile is, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally. And samples. You mentioned samples. Samples are a great idea. If you have a product that you can give samples of, one of the best ways, rather than just having them there left there, is actually to be able to pass to them and say, hi, would you like a sample? Because it gives you a reason to interact with them and start to talk with them. What do you think of that? What do you we're working on this, or do you want to try this one? But it's a point of engagement. It also means your samples don't go as quick, so it's a win-win as well, but it gives you a reason to engage with them and starting that conversation, starting that relationship. But samples work really well. And if you sell clothing or jewellery, really, we hear this so often from the stall holders, the aim is to get them to try it on. Whether they then buy it or not is sort of like irrelevant, but 90% of the sales come when we get them to try it on.
Yeah.
So if it's clothing, it's having a safe, way for them to try it on. And there's lots of different ways you can set up temporary change rooms. Google Images are great, but once again, screens, pop-up tents, there's lots of different things to have a temporary change room. And for jewellery, the thing is just to say, hey, do you want me to help you try that on? And it might be having a spot where they can put their handbag, from thinking women.
Or to take it for them, or just put it in a safe spot.
But somewhere where they want, often when they're trying something on, they need the handbag off, even a scarf. The handbag goes somewhere, and then they can try it on, and a mirror. Don't forget a mirror. Very important.
Yeah, good point.
And all mirrors aren't created equally. So a mirror which is quite sharp and gives a good image will help you.
Yeah. And then for jewellery, a nice handheld mirror can be enough if you have good light. People like to look at the stuff they're putting on.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
That's great. Awesome tips. Yeah. Stuff that and a lot of this stuff seems straightforward, but you might not necessarily ever think about it if you've never done this type of thing before, right? And obviously, experience over time gives you this wisdom. But
A good idea is also to just sort of reflect of what you expect when you enter a shop.
Yeah.
And then you enter a shop because you're wanting to buy something, or you're entering a shop because you're drawn into it for whatever reason. So just sort of reflect, what do I expect of the person behind the counter? And make some notes. Have a sales pitch if that works, you know. And if it's not a sample that you can offer, but a product that you could just say, would you like to show me how it works? Just have this 1 or 2 line, especially for those of you that haven't done any retail or that are actually shy and don't know how to make that initial contact. So as a team, sit down and have 2-3 lines, so that also, because another bad thing is if someone keeps hearing are you happy browsing? Don't.
That's like that
always say
retail
yes.
experience.
They'll always say, you happy browsing? Yes.
Because otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. So do that.
So one of the most important things that you have to consider when you do go to a market is obviously the handling of money. Now there's obviously different ways of you can handle money, because obviously cash is king, as they say, and there's probably quite a bit going around at a market. But there's also electronic transactions as well. So tell us a little bit about some tips for sort of handling cash or money on the day, and maybe the best practices for that.
Well, have a good float. Do have cash on hand. Also have the option of sending someone to get some more cash if you're running out. Yes, a lot of people still come to a market unprepared. That means they only have plastic. So we do have a cash out option. So on the day that you come to our market, make yourself familiar where that stall is that does cash out.
Or if you're going to a market around the country, find out if they don't have cash
Your
out.
nearest ATM.
Where's the nearest ATM to send people if you need to send them somewhere. But be aware, anyone you send away from the store
may not come back.
Making the sale then and then is the best way. So that's having an FPOS machine or one of the paid clip things that you put on your mobile phone. They will make you sales. It's worth it. Bottom line, have them. And I was going to mention with the float, there's a few things around that. Is be aware of your pricing. If you're going to be 95 cents, $4.95, you're going to have those 5-cent coins. You're going to have lots of them. And it is something to be aware of when you're pricing what sort of float and coins you're going to have. It's going to make a difference, and it's a balance between finding that balance of the ideal price and what it's going to mean cash on the day. Then the fact of having cash on the day is something you need to be aware of.
Keep it safe.
Keep it safe. It is a theft risk. Doesn't matter where you are, having cash not on you can be a risk. And so with that, the best way is to have it on you, whether, good old-fashioned bum bags, or if you're going to wear an apron. And you can get an apron printed in your branding and your style, and it can become the look. I mean, that's something I think, whatever you wear on the day is part of your store look, and it can become a uniform, or it can become something which adds to your branding. And if you have an apron, a pocket, or it can be a waist apron, thinking of how you're going to have your cash. If you are having it in a container, how can it be secured in such a way that someone, when you're not looking, can't just walk past and grab it? Because it is a security risk, and even just when you're packing up, you put it in the car and you forget about it, or you put it on top of the car while you're packing out. There's all these things with the money, just to be aware of it.
So consider your options around sort of handling cash, and do you need some sort of FPOS or electronic transactions? That's probably is a really great way to go if you can do that. And obviously, considering your pricing is a really big one as too. Is your product $3 or is it $2.90 or is it $10? That might determine whether you need to handle more notes versus coins, and that change that you need to probably be able to give to a customer as well. So
and
just think that through.
And there's so much psychology around pricing. I'm not going to say what I think or know, but you can start looking at the psychology of pricing, and there's lots of information out there. It's definitely a big one.
Which leads us to the next thing in terms of obviously, your technical requirements for a stall. So it's all nice to have something, nicely looking, and you've got all your product there, but there's other little things that you should probably think about as well in terms of comfort, technical things like power boards and extension cables, those types of things, even right down to blue tack and tape and things
Definitely.
like that, right?
I mean, we had, when we used to go and do things, we used to have a little thing called our toolkit, which was a little...
we used to call it the midwife kit.
Oh, that's right. It was a midwife kit. That's right. And it was
the emergency kit.
It was a little toolkit that we got for $10, whatever, from, some place. But in it you have masking tape, blue tack, scissors, even a stapler, pen and paper, because you have to suddenly realise...
Cable tie?
Cable ties?
Cable tie is
Yep.
the best
The
tool
You can
ultimate
ever.
attach things,
Yeah.
yeah, you have cable ties, and then there's the extension called
Multi-plug.
multi-plugs, double adapters. You just never know what
And
you're
spare
going to
light
need.
bulbs maybe
Oh,
is
yeah.
a
Yes.
real good,
Yeah.
can be a real good lifesaver.
Because
if
often,
someone
yeah, you
drops
drop
the
your
light.
land, the light breaks, having
Yeah.
that spare stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, all those little bits and pieces, even your gaffer tape, I'm trying to think of everything that you can potentially need. Oh, 3M hooks. 3M hooks are great because you can, attach them and then remove them, but they're good for hanging things.
Yeah.
Often you'll find that at markets there's places to hang stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So think about that, and you probably won't think of it all, but if you bring a kit of, a whole bunch of different stuff, it might get you out of a sticky situation when
And if
setting
not,
up all
ask
during the
your
Might
day.
help
neighbours.
someone else.
Yeah,
you
ask,
know?
ask your neighbours,
Yeah.
and that's the other thing with markets is you learn that your neighbours are your friend. They're here to support you, and they're really, if you don't have it, someone
There's
else
so
will.
much knowledge at our place.
Yeah.
Our stallholders have been around as long as the market. So
And it'll
if
be
you
the same
want some,
everywhere, right?
yeah, wherever you go. If you want some really good advice before you go market, go wherever you will be going. Talk to the people that are there, and also kind of look at what works. How do they set up their stall? Why does their stall look better than that one?
That's actually a really good point, right?
Yeah.
So do a
Do
reconnaissance
your market
trip.
research of your market.
Just go there and have a walk around for an hour and check it out. Maybe take a couple of photos, I don't know, and talk to some people. That's
Definitely.
a really great way.
Do ask before you take photos, even
Yeah.
though it's a public space. It's like, hey, just makes it nicer
Yeah.
with the stall holders.
Yeah.
But definitely, but go, why does this stall appeal to me? Take a photo and then you can break that down.
Yeah, really good tip, really good. Which brings us to the comfort factor as well. Like markets can be a long day. You don't necessarily want to be standing around all day. And you did mention about bringing seats, but obviously clothing, food for the day. You got to keep going yourself, right?
Good point. So, a couple of things there. It can be hot or can be cold, so you need to be good old layers,
Yeah.
layers for that. And so seating stools are best. Something which is high. You sort of perched up high, so that you sort of eye contact with
That
the
whole
customers.
engagement thing
Yep,
again,
that
yeah.
you're looking there like
Yeah.
you're there for them.
And your posture.
Yeah.
Like you said before, don't slouch.
No.
You're not on the beach.
Yeah.
You're there to do business.
Yeah.
And so with that, I don't recommend high heels, ladies. A full day wearing heels is a hard thing. You've got to go comfort. Your shoes are comfort. So find your most comfortable shoes that still look respectable, but
Sure.
definitely. And also remember, you're setting up the store or packing it away. So there's a bit of movement and you're doing stuff. And so if you're wearing really delicate stuff, it can also get damaged during that process.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to add to that, water.
Yeah.
So definitely you'll need water. It's something when you're talking with customers a lot, you end up getting quite thirsty because you're talking so much more than you usually would. And you're even talking with your friends when you're setting up, and you just be really surprised at how much water you need to drink. So make sure you have, definitely a bottle of water.
Good.
And likewise, food for the day. Markets will always have food for sale, but it could be you're busy and you can't get away, and just having snacks and things you can get if your energy's dropping, especially, in the afternoon or if things quieten down and it's been a long day, you need to keep your energy levels high, and your energy has to be up so that you're always there for when that customer comes in. It's been 20 minutes with no customer, your energy levels have to be there.
Yeah. So pack your muesli bars and sandwiches.
That's it.
All right, they're all awesome tips for anyone going to market. So I guess it comes back to maybe it really could be a great idea if you had some goals in mind in terms of what you want to achieve at a market as well, right? Which comes to mindset as well. So maybe let's talk about goals and mindset.
I just think it's really good as a team if you think about what do we want to walk away with at the end of the day, may that be financially or by experiences. So maybe as a team it's good to say, right, we need to sell 10 units to cover our costs. We need to sell 20 units to be able to have, walk away with a bit of extra. Set yourself a goal on how much would I ideally like to make today, and work towards that. It gives you a great incentive, it gives you motivation, and that's good, don't try and sell to a person that's absolutely not wanting to buy, but it's great as a team to say, today I would like to walk away with that much money in my till.
It actually allows for planning too. This is actually a really good point, because maybe you've got to have contingency plans too for what happens if you don't
Sell
do
out.
too well in selling, or if you do sell out, right? So what happens if you rock up and you just absolutely kill your sales and you're done, right? So what do you do? What are your contingency plans there?
So, I mean, most markets, they won't let you pack down to a certain time of the day. So
Makes
you
sense.
generally just put up, sorry, sold out, but do you want to go on our mailing list? Or,
Yeah.
you know, still keep one or two back as samples so you can get people on the mailing list or get people to sign up for further sales. So definitely don't get rid of all your products.
Because that's good, because,
Yeah.
because they are your next sales, right?
Yes.
And it's such an easy way of collecting more potential customers.
Totally. And in the same respect, if you don't sell any or you're not having the sales, there's a couple of things there. I mean, the thing of market, it isn't just about the sales. It's your best customer feedback you're going to get. They're going to say, oh, I like this, but engage them and, you know, oh, this doesn't quite work for me, or record all the information you get. This is the best feedback you're going to get. You know, it's the public. They're going to tell you what they think. You know, have those conversations with them. And, you know, this is your market research. So there's so many things you can get that, you know, aren't sales. The other thing is, you know, during the day you might go, okay, we're not having any sales. And this is time to reflect and go, well, are people coming to our store? Yes. Then what's happening? Or no, they're not even coming to us. Why aren't they coming to us? And then you step back and look at your store to others, and you might end up doing a change in your layout or a change in something during the day because you realise what's
Something's
missing.
not working.
Yeah, and
yeah.
it's that, you know, we have one of our stallholders, which is our long-term successful stallholder, and they made $3 on their first day because another stallholder felt sorry for them. But they said they kept coming, they changed their layout, they did things differently, they presented themselves, and now they're, you know, long-term successful stallholder that make their living through selling at the market. So you've just got to keep trying, keep adapting, keep evolving.
So don't get discouraged. A positive
Don't get
mindset,
discouraged.
as we talked about, is key, right?
Yes. Reality is setting up in the mornings can be really stressful. You know, you can have an argument with your teammate or whatever, and in which case, take yourself for a walk and do what you need to do to get into that frame of mind. You know, to keep, you know, you've got to be that positive energy. You've got to be great. And even if it is 3 o'clock and you haven't had a sale or whatever, and you've got another hour left of the market, you've still got to treat each customer with that same energy and not get into the doom and gloom of, oh, I haven't sold, or whinge or negative. That affects your sales. And you know, you never know when you're going to have that amazing sale. It can happen any time of the day.
Yeah, that's true.
And working at the market for so long, it's true. You know, I see people in the morning, and you can just about determine that they're not going to have a good day because they're just not even in the right mindset. Be positive, and yes, even if you haven't had a sale for the first 3 hours, it doesn't matter. That one person could come and buy it. Everything, because you don't know that person.
I guess it's a matter of just, you know, it is about customer experience, right?
Yeah.
So you're always considering your position from the customer's perspective and how do they have a great experience, despite you not. And in some cases, it's like acting or putting on a show, and it's like, you know, giving the customer what they want.
The customer doesn't care what bad day you've had, and just be aware that at the end of the day in retail, it just takes one customer to make your whole day.
Yeah.
Someone could be buying for corporate and go, I want 30
take all
of
of
these. You just don't know.
Or
that
you
person
don't-
could be sitting there with $1,000 in their pocket.
Yeah.
You don't know it.
Or you don't know that they're the one that's got a contact that they go from the market, keep thinking about you, and then they're going to follow up with you, and something's
next
going to
day,
come out
yeah.
about that afterwards. You just never know. And
And it does happen.
It totally happens.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hear of those stories as well. So never get discouraged. Always have that positive mindset, and make sure that you always consider your perspective or the customer's perspective effectively, and make sure that you give them a great experience on the day as well.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Well, I would like to thank you both for joining me here at 3 Mile in Carterton to talk about going to market. Excellent conversation, some awesome topics, great tips. Thank you once again for joining us.
Pleasure.
Oh, pleasure. And I wish you the best of luck, and most of all, have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and whatever it is, whichever market that you go to around the country, I'm sure some of these tips will be really valuable to you guys as well. Make sure that you read it, share this with your team, maybe watch it in class, and make sure that you take these tips on board and be awesome at your market. Thanks for joining us today on Yes TV. That's all we got time for today. Catch you later.
Laters.
Bye.